Your body is wrecked after an ultramarathon. So how do we get from this back to this?
Wow.
Now, me and my mate went after a mixed gender unsupported speed record over an ultramarathon distance. We didn't hit our target, but the recovery for it is still going to be the same. And thankfully, the method for building your way back to your normal training volume in a sensible way is pretty straightforward. We're going to talk about 3 key steps to ensure that the muscle soreness fades away as quickly as possible and we can get back to training well in a sensible time frame. Obviously, the time frame will shift a bit depending on your level of previous experience and the length of ultramarathon that you have done. A 100-mile ultramarathon is going to take longer to recover from than a 50k. And towards the end of the video, we're going to have a look at a few extra bits and pieces that you can use to try and help your body feel good and recover a little bit faster after absolutely rinsing your body. First up, nutrition. The key thing is straight after the event, as soon as you feel like you're able to get food in, you need to get some protein and some carbs in. It doesn't really matter exactly what form they take, you just need to get them in so that you can kickstart that recovery process and help the muscles start recovering. Alongside this, we need to be rehydrating ASAP. As quickly as you can, get the fluids in, get the electrolytes in. If you can do this, if you can get the protein in, get the carbs in, get the electrolytes in nice and fast, you will feel better over the coming days than you would otherwise. This isn't going to mean that you can immediately start running around as normal, but it will expedite the overall process. The key thing we're looking for on the rehydration front is the chances are the first wee you have after running an ultra is not going to look a great color. So afterwards, we want to be trying to get that wee nice and clear as quickly as possible. Now, in the days after the effort, we're all going to feel a little bit different. A lot of people might find it quite difficult to eat, and other people might be really, really hungry. The key thing here is we want to try and avoid gorging if you are feeling really, really hungry, and we want to avoid not eating enough if you are struggling with your appetite. What we're looking for is to get back to our normal eating schedule as quickly as we can. So eat at the same times of day as you would normally and try and eat the same kind of portion sizes you would normally. If you are feeling particularly hungry, then obviously take in a little bit extra, maybe have a couple of snacks throughout the day. And through all this, we want to be trying to make sure our protein content is decent and high. Your muscles are wrecked, they're gonna need help rebuilding, so if you can get that protein in, it's gonna really, really help things. It'll also be good to try and get some nutrient dense foods in. Obviously, you put your body through something that was realistically pretty traumatic, so a lot of your nutrient markers are probably gonna be down after an effort like this. So if you make sure you're getting lots of vitamins, lots of minerals, that kind of thing will really, really help as well. When we're talking about nutrient dense foods, we're mostly going to be looking at whole foods. So decent amount of vegetables, get some pulses in there, some legumes, whatever your like protein of choice is. If you follow a plant-based diet, then tofu's great, get some beans in. And if you follow an omnivorous diet, then obviously getting things like fish in is going to be really, really good because they're high in protein. It's got lots of good nutrients in it. If you like seafood, then mussels are crazy dense in nutrients. All right, onward to the next tip. The second key element of recovery after a big effort of any kind is movement. Now, this is going to look a little bit different for everyone, depending on what your normal training level is and the kind of effort that you've done. So it is quite personal, and there isn't like a cookie cutter way of approaching it. Now, the reason we want to get movement in is that we want to make sure the lactic acid isn't just sitting around in our muscles. So if we can move around gently, it just gets the blood flow going, and it means your muscles are going to recover a bit faster because there's blood flow there, moving the lactic acid around, and just meaning you're not going to be as sore and things aren't going to hurt as much, and you can kind of get back to more normal activity a little bit faster. So for me, I have a pretty high training volume. I do quite a lot of strength training, and normally I would be training 7 days a week, so my body's used to moving around every day. So for me, even though I ran an ultramarathon yesterday, my body is used to moving every day. I do normally train 7 days a week, so it's still important to try and replicate that in recovery week, but obviously just in a much less intense fashion. Now again, how much and how you move is going to be personal to you, and it's probably going to depend a bit on your schedule. For me, Mondays are a day off because my weekend is Sunday, Monday, and I have an errand to run, so I'm just walking there instead of going about it any other way. And I'm just going to take my time with the walk down there because I don't have any time constraints. If you're in a position where your schedule's a little bit tighter the day after a big effort, then you just do what you can, even if it's you get up a little bit earlier in the morning and maybe you just walk around for 10 minutes doing stuff around the garden before you go to work. Like, that's still better than nothing. And then maybe when you come home a bit later, you do something similar. You sort of have 10-20 minutes just kind of moving around. And the other important thing is to kind of have little tiny pockets of movement throughout the day, and just make sure you're not sat doing absolutely nothing for too long in any one go. So I've been chilling out a bit this morning, but I have been trying to get up and move around periodically. Just kind of like walk into the kitchen, do a couple of bits and pieces, maybe walk up and down the stairs, just to make sure my legs and body are moving every sort of 20 minutes to half an hour. And if you're in a position where you're at work the day after a big effort, then maybe that just means you get up from your desk and stretch out a little bit, wander over to get a glass of water on a regular basis, etc. Or if you have a more physical job, then that will sort of take care of itself. You'll just have to be a little bit more careful about the actual effort output. If you go overboard, obviously it's going to have the opposite effect, and you are just going to be sore and hurt quite a lot. So it's a balance. We want to move nice and gently. We want to listen to our bodies, make sure we're moving enough just to get a little bit of blood flow there, but make sure we're not pushing it so hard that our muscles don't actually recover. And then you feel it out. You can have a recovery plan, but that might need to change. So at the minute in my recovery plan, I'm going to go for a short run tomorrow. Personally, I need to do that because I have a ligament in my knee that locks up if I don't run for more than a couple of days. So the plan is to go out, aim to do a short run, but if I get out for 5 minutes and I just feel really, really bad, then I'll walk a bit. Maybe I'll try and run a little bit more, and if I'm still feeling really, really bad, I'll just come home. But it just means I will have done enough to make sure my knee ligament doesn't play up and lock up later in the week. While the nutrition side of things is a little bit more rigid in what is going to be effective and what's going to work, the movement element is much more personal. So don't try and copy someone else's recovery plan, because what works for them is maybe not going to work for you. The effort you've done might be different, and really you build up this picture over time. As you do more big efforts and more things, you get more of an understanding of what your body responds to. But if you're pretty new to it, just play it by ear, feel it out, don't push it. As long as you're doing some kind of movement, that's fine. If you're just doing very gentle walks for 2 to 3 weeks after a marathon or something, for example, then that's you. If that works, that's fine.
If you found the video useful so far, then consider giving it a like, and if you want to stick around long term for more training videos, racing videos, general adventures and stuff, then hit the subscribe button. Or don't. I'm not your boss, and you're a creature of free will. The third thing we need to nail after an ultramarathon is sleep. Now, immediately after the effort, sleeping is probably going to feel quite hard. Your body is going to be pretty whacked out. The hormones are going to be doing things they're not normally doing. Cortisol levels are probably going to be a bit all over the place, so getting to sleep the night after you finish an effort like this is probably going to be tricky. And the sleep quality you do get isn't going to be great. So that first night, you're just going to do the best you can. You can use supplements to try and help you get to sleep. Taking magnesium can work for some people. A lot of people also seem to have good success with having kiwi before bed to help them get to sleep. Obviously, some of it is just going to be the same as any normal night when you're trying to get to sleep. Try to avoid having alcohol close to bedtime. Try to avoid having an enormous meal close to bedtime. Maybe just reduce your screen time as bedtime gets a bit closer, and try and calm the body down as much as you can. But yeah, on that first night, you're just going to be doing as best you can. In the days after the ultra, we want to be trying to be pretty diligent about our bedtime routine, just so we can try and get a good amount of sleep and help our body recover, because sleep is where most of the recovery is going to happen. If you've got the option to grab a nap during the day, then go for it. Now, as promised, we're going to take a look at a few extra bits and pieces that can help that recovery process. But make sure you've got the first 3 things prioritized
burst. So the day after the effort, a very hot bath might be very, very helpful. And when I say very hot, I mean this isn't going to be a relaxing bath time. It is going to be running that bath to a point where you can just about tolerate it and trying to stay in it for 20 minutes. If you can get the water to submerge your legs, that's fine. We don't need to be fully submerged for this one. We're just basically delivering a shot of heat treatment to the legs to get that blood flow moving around so that the recovery process can be a little bit quicker. This isn't going to work for everyone because it is an uncomfortable experience, but it works. Oh my, it works. I would advise keeping this to a maximum of 20 minutes, and if you want to do it a couple more times during the week after an ultra, then fine, but I wouldn't use it excessively because of how uncomfortable an experience it is. It's good for kind of like kick-starting a bunch of blood flow through the legs, but it is quite emotionally and mentally fatiguing because of the amount of discomfort in those 20 minutes. So I would keep this to short bursts, used sparingly, unless you're very, very tolerant to heat. Massages. This is entirely individual. Personally, I don't like them. I have had a massage after an ultra. I didn't really like it that much, but then I don't like people touching me. If you're the sort of person who finds a massage really, really relaxing, then by all means, go for it. I would say give it at least 2 or 3 days after the ultra before having a massage. When you have a massage, you are basically having someone beat up your muscles even more. So while that can stimulate some amount of muscle repair, it's probably not gonna feel actually that good straight after the effort. But if you give your body a couple of days to sort of settle down a little bit and then have a massage, that can work really, really nicely. For the same reason, foam rolling is very much a personal thing. I have used foam rolling just to try and get my legs to feel a little bit better after a really long ultra effort, just because I needed to be in work the next day and I needed to be able to move around without feeling super sore. So I have used a foam roller just to kind of give a bit of short-term relief. But on the whole, I don't really use it that much. Again, quite a personal thing. Some people really like it. Personally, I don't get on with it that well. Getting some regular mobility exercises in through the week can be really nice for just keeping the joints moving. Although we don't want to be working ourselves too hard physically in the week after an ultramarathon, we do want to kind of keep the body moving gently just so we don't have things seizing up, and so we can find out and feel straight away if something is feeling wrong or just not quite right. So doing some regular mobility exercises, maybe even every day, it can be a really nice way to just check in with your body and make sure everything feels the way it usually does. You can see a sports physio. Some people really like to just have a check-in with a sports physio anytime they do a really big event. This can be good because a sports physio might be able to see and notice something that you might not have realized, and that thing could turn into a problem later down the line, and the sports physio can just make sure you're on a good path to making sure it doesn't progress into anything else. Again, this is going to be quite personal. Not everyone's going to have access to a good sports physio, but this can be a good option if you've not done a lot of ultramarathons or you've not done a lot of long distance running events and you're not really that familiar with how your body feels after a big effort. Having someone else able to look at you in an objective fashion and kind of help you see and understand what might be not quite right or a bit different can be really, really helpful. Obviously, if you finish the ultra and a bunch of stuff hurts that shouldn't be hurting, doesn't normally hurt, feels really, really off, then yeah, definitely go see a sports physio. And that's the video. If you want to watch the video of my most recent ultramarathon effort, then that video is here. And if you want a playlist to binge through in the evening, then all my race videos are here. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.